Many believe Russia is winning the Russo-Ukrainian war, and that is true, but I believe the Ukraine can indeed win. Now, it is my belief that the Ukraine in 2022 should have certainly pursued peace, and I think continuing the war was a massive mistake the Ukraine has made. But that is the past, this is the present. Now, the Ukraine, some may say the Ukraine should just surrender. Well, I say no. I think if you look at history, the Americans were winning the Vietnam War. The French were winning the Algerian War, but they left because, well, you can be winning a war, but if you leave, then you've lost the war. So, like, you can look at the wars between Carthage and Rome. The Romans won because they were more determined to win. So wars are often won by not who wins, but by who doesn't lose, who can survive the longest. World War One didn't end with capturing the enemy capital. It ended with the enemy collapsing from within. So, it is my opinion that since the Ukraine has made the disastrous decision to continue the war, they must continue the war for as long as it takes. Whether that be 2 years or 20 years, they must keep up the fight. As long as there is a Ukraine, there must be a Ukrainian army fighting the Russians, because, well, if the Russians continue this war, well, they will expand a lot of resources, and there will be a desire for peace within Russia. Iraq was a victory for America. Some may say it was an American defeat, but I think it was clearly a victory for the Americans. But Afghanistan was not. I believe that if the Iraqis had kept the fight up for as long as the Taliban did, then the Iraqis would have defeated the Americans. But that's not bad. The Taliban had the opportunity of getting money via drugs. The Islamists in Iraq didn't, so they lost. The Taliban, they were able to continue fighting, so they won. Well, the Ukraine, they've got finances from Europe and stuff. Now, some may say defense in depth, but I say the Germans tried that in World War II and Berlin fell. I think the Ukraine strategy of fighting for every tree line is the only option, because once the Russians capture all of Donbass, then their focus will shift to capturing Zaporizhia. They'll capture all the territories in their claimed land. And I think there's a possibility once they complete that and the war continues, they may shift their attentions to Kharkov, and that hopefully that does happen for the Ukrainians, because that will be another front and it will continue the war for even longer. And eventually the Russian state will get exhausted and there will be people wanting to win the war, and hopefully the CIA or other intelligence agencies are working right now to overthrow the Russian government. And that way, if the Ukrainians continue the war for another 20 years, eventually there'll be regime change in Russia and they will even get back Crimea. But the Ukraine cannot win the war conventionally. They must win the war by continuing the war until Russia gets exhausted and gives up. That is the only strategy that can win the war for the Ukraine. It will cost millions of lives. Currently, I think there's like over 100,000 or so. It'll cost 1 million lives at least if they continue for 20 years. Maybe it won't reach 1 million. I don't know, but it'll cost 500,000 lives to continue the war for 20 years It will destroy Ukraine as a nation, but they will have won. They will reap the consequent rewards in the centuries to come. It will be a great, worthwhile victory if they win. And that is all.